Kalalau Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai Bahashem Racha Kodash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty throughout the four corners of this earth. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Barakatah. Today's lesson, the horrible vision from the east. And we begin the lesson in 2 Esdras 15 and 28, because tensions are really high when it comes to the Middle East. 2 Esdras 15 and 28, behold an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. A horrible vision of war shall come from the east. When it comes to the Middle East crisis, the conflict between Israel, the Israeli state, and its surrounding neighbors intensifies, and tensions are at an all-time high. 2 Esdras 15 and 29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And the dragons of Arabia are the Ishmaelites. It's prophesied that the Ishmaelites shall come out in war with many chariots, meaning with their tanks and armored vehicles. And when it comes to the Arab world, it consists of 22 countries in the Middle East and North Africa: Algeria, Bahrain, the Comoros Islands, the Djibouti, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Mauritania, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. And when it comes to this horrible Third World War to come, it's been prophesied since the very beginning upon the scriptures. And the scriptures show you who the major players are. And this is the Lord's script when it comes to the major players of World War III. The Lord is a man of war, as it says in Exodus 15 and 3. And he's the one controlling all these wars. And those major players that are listed upon the Bible are now being stirred up. And here we have another major player that is being stirred up. 2 Esdras 15 and 30. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Carmanians upon the scripture speaks of the Iranian wild boars of Iran. And here we have a quick lesson upon the Iranians of today. As you can see here, it all began in 1933 when the Persians asked governments around the world to make slight adjustments to the way in which they referred to their country and ruler. In 1934, they informed foreigners that from March 21st of 1935, Persia should be officially called Iran. In time, the Lord shall remove that covering cast that is set upon all nations, and he shall restore their true biblical names once again. But when it comes to the Iranians of today, they are the Persians. And Iran has not been invaded since World War II and has been nicknamed Fortress Iran. One thing to take into account is that Iran is well secured at its borders with mountains and a terrain that is not easily accessible, which would imply that it is closed and hence resembles a fortress. And the Iranians of today are the Persians, and it is prophesied that they shall come with great power. They shall come with great power because they now possess nuclear capability. And when it comes to Iran, they now have hypersonic missiles. The Fatah-2 hypersonic glide vehicle, for instance, or the HGV, as you can see here, in which Iran now possesses, is capable of gliding and maneuvering at speeds of Mach 5 and 20. And the Fatah-2 boasts a range of 1,500 kilometers, only slightly more than its predecessor, the Fatah-1. And when it travels at that speed, it leaves little room for detection. Just as it says here in Al Jazeera, at the claimed speeds, Fatah could theoretically reach Israeli targets in under 7 minutes. That will leave little room for detection. And when it comes to biblical prophecy, the Carmanians of Iran shall waste a portion of the land of America. Those HGV warheads can take out certain cities. That's why we are watching to see what develops with this current war in the Middle East. But one thing is made clear: biblical prophecy tells you the major players involved in this horrible war to come. World War III. And World War III shall top World War II with the numbers. As soon as they pass the CHIP of Revelation 13:16 through 18, then that war comes quickly. 2nd Esdras 15 and 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. It's prophesied here that the dragons of Ishmael will have the upper hand. Ishmael, Hebrew word Yashamayala. The Most High listens. God listens. But when it comes to the nature of the so-called Arabs, it is that of a wild man. That's why the scripture of Genesis 16 and 12 says the following: and he will be a wild man, his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. This speaks of the so-called Arabs of Ishmael. And when it comes to the Ishmaelites, it was Esau, Edom, that named them by the corporate name of Arab. The military called the Arabs Hajis and Swamis. Just to throw that in there. But the word Arab is from the Hebrew word called Arab, which means mixed. It was the so-called Arabs that started the Crusades against the Israelites. They also took part in Israelite slavery by building slave ships. And the term Moor was also placed on Israel by Ishmael. They too shall go into captivity. But when it comes to the Ishmaelite dragons, they shall persecute the Americans of modern-day Babylon the Great. 2nd Esdras 15 and 32. That's why we go to outside sources. Then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. Then these shall be troubled, bled, meaning the American military, and keep silence through their power by means of their news media. Right, they shall cover up and conceal the truth, as they have always done. They shall flee, meaning that it will not be reported. And you're seeing that now when it comes to the American media. Everything is being concealed. That's the reason why we go to other outside news networks for the truth, like RT.com, Al Jazeera, and others. Look at all the lies that came out of this current ongoing Ukrainian war, especially when they were reporting the death of the numbers of their militaries. Ukraine has over 600,000 military soldiers dead and many injured, when all along they were lying about the numbers. Even Colonel McGregor told you the truth about the numbers. The real truth of what will happen with this coming destructive war is found upon the scriptures. That's the number one source. The Bible is the number one source. And when it comes to modern day Babylon the Great, it shall be destroyed and left desolate without inhabitants, according to the scripture of Jeremiah 51 and 29. The land that the small has now occupied shall also be destroyed. That land shall rebuild. But modern day Babylon the Great shall never rebuild. It shall be left destroyed to show the people on how not to live. And with that being said, Kaulalao Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahak Wadash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akimat there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Barakatah.